Good morning and welcome along to Goal Line Gossip. We're here together to talk about what we usually cover as the Fallout Show. We have a special guest here today with us, Hotspur Rebu, representing Tottenham Hotspurs. We also have Aitun Mag here representing Newcastle United, who it seems like just scored. Newcastle United just scored. And Joe Willock is the guy who got the goal against Manchester United. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, live reactions right at the offset of the show. What are you going to say? There's Miguel Almiron, clapping away. He missed the game today. Well, I'm Jish Meister representing Arsenal. We're here to start off to talk about Tottenham Hotspurs and the epiphany that they are as a football club. They recently sacked their first team manager in Antonio Conte. And I just wanted to get a take from both Aitun Mag and our new guest here, Rebu, on what he thinks about how Tottenham handled the situation, whether it was the right thing to do or not, and whether Antonio Conte is overrated as a manager, as an elite manager, so-called elite manager. So I want to take this question first to Hotspur Rebu. Do you think Antonio Conte is overrated as an elite level manager?
Frankly speaking, to my knowledge, I don't think he's overrated as an elite manager. But yes, his tactics and the way he plays is starting to get, he's starting to be a bit more outdated. That's what we see because he is like the way Spurs plays. If you look at Spurs, we all know Spurs as a more attractive football team who plays attractive football, a position-based football.
Right.
And Antonio Conte does not fit that kind of a profile, to be very frank. Yes, he has delivered results, across multiple teams, but maybe, Antonio Conte was not the proper, puzzle that we needed, or, proper
puzzle, yeah,
the proper dice that we needed at this moment, right? So it was not a proper fit,
right.
And it didn't work out as planned.
No, of course it did not. That was evident for everybody to see that it was a shambles, especially this season. But what I wanted to specifically refer to is that he's usually compared, when he came to the Premier League back with Tottenham Hotspurs, he's typically compared with the Pep Guardiolas and then the Jurgen Klopps of this era. I get it that he has done wonderful things at Inter Milan and he did great stuff at Chelsea as well. But was he really elite? Because in terms of being an elite level manager, has he left either Chelsea or Inter Milan in a situation where they could improve upon something, or no, he was just producing the goods for one season or a couple of seasons, and then he was gone. So, I mean, how can you compare him to a Pep Guardiola who's built project after project at Bayern Munich and at Barcelona and now at Manchester City for more than 6-7 years now? Same thing with Jurgen Klopp. These people have longevity. How do you put them in the same bracket as Antonio Conte?
Well, absolutely, yes. So that's what I was saying. See, Antonio Conte is more of a touch and go manager. Like, he will come, deliver, and go. So that's what he did at Chelsea. That's what he did at Inter Milan, right? So and if you notice, his exit at Inter Milan was something similar. Like, when he saw
unceremonious, it was unceremonious. That's correct.
Correct. That's correct. So once he saw, his likable players like Lukaku, players like what was the other player? I just forgot the name, but couple of. Perisic anyway went on a free transfer because his contract expired. But once we saw that his favorite players were leaving Inter Milan and he was not happy with it, he just moved on and he just resigned. So basically, it's either his way or not. So he's kind of a bit more stubborn as a manager. Like, he doesn't want to mold himself. He knows that what he is doing. And even if things doesn't work out that way, he'll still continue to do that way. So
right.
so that's what puts him at just an inch beyond elite managers like Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola. Because as you might see, both Jurgen Klopp as well as Pep and even to some extent, Erik Ten Hag, if I might say. These are managers who always tend to cope or change with the changing in tactics or changing in the style of play.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ripu. I just wanted to break here and just bring this to your attention. You can look at managers all around the world. I'm certain that if they would have gotten a player like Jade Spence, they would have molded them to the next big thing over the right flank in English football. But Antonio Conte wants a finished article. That's all he wants.
Right.
And then, however, on the counter side, I want to play devil's advocate here and say that he, during his rant, in his epic interview, post-match interview, um, he said a few things. He said that this is the story of Tottenham Hotspurs forever for the past 20 years. And I, as an Arsenal fan, loved hearing it. I was in smithereens, rolling on the floor, and I was super happy to hear it because it's true. I mean, I don't think you can deny it. You can try and tell me why it's not, but um, what he said, as you guys being the very same throughout year in year out, and your owner Daniel Levy really not caring much about trophies or winning something tangible, as opposed to just staying in the top four and making that additional 30-40 million pounds that you make up being in the top four and playing in the group stage of the Champions League. That's not the right attitude. And then you got to feel bad for Conte, well, not bad really, because he bagged maybe 15 million pounds when the contract was ripped apart. But what he said, can you entirely deny it, that Spurs is what they are, and then no manager, even a Conte, Pep Guardiola, Zidane, could make any change to this club?
I would, before Rihu starts, I would like to add one more point. Wherever this Conte and as well as Mourinho goes, they have won trophies. It's just not happened in Tottenham Hotspur. Is there something wrong with Mourinho and Conte, or is there something wrong with the management, how they are running the club? Because, but we cannot agree that there is something wrong with Tottenham, like in the management or the Navy, whatever you can say. I think there is something wrong. It's just not the managers. Else, at least Conte would have been, done something with trophies.
He was not backed properly either.
So yes. So I just wanted to add few points here. Speaking of backing the manager, look, we have bought a lot of players which Conte likes. Like if you look at the transfer market, we bought Dejan Kulusevski. We have Rodrigo Bentancur. Both of them Conte loved at Juventus. We brought the likes of Ivan Perisic, which was a purely Conte signing because it was completely anti-Levy. Because Levy's style is bring in young prospects and make them and turn them into legends, which was not the style which with Ivan Perisic. Even players like Christian Romero, it was a I know it was not a Conte signing, but it was a purely Conte type signing, which was done by Paratici. So speaking of that, and in the last player that we signed, Pedro Porro, amazing right back, just because Conte wanted a finished product, we brought a player like Pedro Porro. So I would say that
was Richarlison Conte signing as well?
Oh yes, I completely forgot. Yes, Richarlison was also Conte signing. You can't debate off and say Danjuma was not a Conte signing because it was some kind of availability that came to the market, and just Paratici went for it because he was available to sign. But again, and also same goes for Spence. I completely agree with that. But what about the others? We bought so many players for Conte. Now, my point here is, I'm not denying that there is something something problematic with the board. Yes, there is. Then that's the reason, we are failing year in, year out. The first problem was to sack Mauricio Pochettino and not back him. If you recall, the year we went to the Champions League final, the same year we did not spend a penny on transfers. If maybe that year or the year before, but I guess that year, 2019, we did not spend a penny on transfers. It was the same team, same players that were playing for the last 5-6 years, and just making no changes at all. and we all and the decline in the squad was already visible. I mean, we went to Champions League final purely because of the because of the motivation which we got from Pochettino. But as soon as we moved, we were eliminated from the Champions League final, and we did not win it. The entire team mentality broke down because this team was never, what can I say? Was They did not even think about going to Champions League final, and that team, when they went to Champions League final and they lost it, their mentality was not prepared to bounce back, and from there our downfall started. So it
Right.
was it was the problem. The root cause of the problem lies from there itself, like not backing the manager, a manager like Pochettino, who literally brought us from a 10th, 11th level club to a top four, to a regular top four, and sometimes coming up second and third as well. So it's something which was commendable done by Pochettino, but we did not unfortunately recognize his recognize his potential to the full extent.
Mhm.
Now coming back to the current days, the same thing has been going on and on and on. There are few players like Eric Dyer, there are few players like Ben Davis who are still managed to stay more than any manager that has been in Spurs after Pochettino. I mean, it's really surprising for me. Even players like Davinson Sanchez, I mean, how can he still be at the club? So it's something, that there is some problems in the club which is still not yet addressed. There are some problems in the club which is addressed, but the root cause lies, or we can say the blame lies both in the players as well as with the manager as well, because
And
it's
you
a
don't think
problem of the board.
and you don't think there's any fault that lies with Daniel Levy and his team?
Absolutely. That's what I was saying. So the fault, the complete fault is with Daniel Levy, because the managers he is choosing is not a fit for Tottenham. He is openly saying, if you notice, before the start of this season, he was saying that we will be looking for a manager who likes a position-based, open, attractive football. And the managers he is bringing is Nuno Espirito Santo. The managers he is bringing is Antonio Conte, which is completely contradictory.
They're pragmatic
Yes,
managers. You're right. Absolutely. Now,
exactly.
Reba, I just want to bring this to your attention now. The next thing that I want to talk about is I follow a lot of, football podcast channels and all. You probably would be able to tell me whether there's a difference between the Tottenham fan base internationally, especially in India, as opposed to, let's say, in the United Kingdom. Most of the people in the United Kingdom, the Spurs fans, they would rather finish top four and play Champions League football year in, year out than crash out of Carling Cups, than crash out of FA Cups. Do you share, or do you think that Indian Spurs fan contingent share the same mentality, that you'd rather finish top four and not win the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup?
Well, there is no direct answer to this, because the Indian Spurs contingent is so vast that we have two different views altogether. Some of the Indian Spurs fans, or we can just call Spurs fans here. Some of the Spurs fans in India, they are okay to be out of the Carabao Cup. But the other group just says, we have not won anything in the last, if you see last 10, 15 years. So why not win the Carabao Cup and at least bring a trophy to our home, or bring a trophy to our capital?
Exactly my point. Exactly my point. We were having a discussion in a previous video with, iTunes Mag and Saul and the others. And we were talking about how Harry Kane potentially is never going to go down as a legend, even if he finishes off being the highest goal scorer of the Premier League ever. He might have that legacy, that's fine, but he'll never be mentioned in the same breath as people like the Alan Shearers and the Thierry Henrys and the Lionel Messis and the Ronaldinhos and the Kakas, and whereas he should be. He is a player of that ilk. He is a player of that level and ilk, but he's not being able to create a legacy for himself because he has zero trophies to show for it, zero trophies. And that and as a club, if your fans are broken into half and half, where half of the fans are just okay being the has-beens and the tag-alongs with the big six, and it's B finishing in the top four, top three, playing in the Champions League, being around the big clubs and considering themselves to be a big club without winning a trophy, as opposed to, let's say, Leicester City. Leicester City is more successful as a club in terms of trophies. Jamie Vardy might just end up with a bigger legacy than Harry Kane, even though he's probably not even, close to being the same level of being a player as Harry Kane, just because he's won an FA Cup for his club, he's won a Premier League for his club, right? So what do you have to say about that? This mentality.
Well, speaking of legacy, frankly speaking, Jishu, I don't think, it maybe it's my personal view, but I don't think, trophies can just bring you legacy here. I mean, it's all the personal achievements. Look at the number of golden boots Harry Kane has achieved. I mean, that those are his personal achievements, right? So if you look at Thierry Henry, if you look at players like George Best, I'm just going back the lane, but I'm just giving you examples.
Of course.
If you look at Eric Cantona, so these people have become legacies based on their individual performances. So they have won golden boots, they have won the top scorers, and that's the reason they are considered as legends.
Not really. No. This is where I disagree completely, Rivu. They would not be considered as legends if they didn't have the trophies to back them up with. All of these players that you mentioned, Cantona, George Best, Thierry Henry, they have multiple Premier League medals to back themselves up.
I completely agree. But what about, tell me one thing. What about you have zero contributions, you have zero, golden boots, or whatever bet. So you have zero golden gloves. Your individual performances is zero, but your team has won the Premier League. Will that matter to you?
No, it
You
won't.
consider
No,
yes,
of course, but we're not comparing
It should be worthless. Like
ours. In order to be considered legend, you have to be an important contributing player to a trophy-winning team. That's how you become a legend. If you're going to be, let's say, for example, if we win the league this season, I don't think Cedric Soares has any claim to being an important factor in the team, or claim legend status that he was a part of this amazing team that is going to be winning the Premier League. Potentially, I hope so. We don't know for sure, but that's the same thing.
exactly. That's what I was saying. So Harry Kane recently became the top Indian goal scorer. So do you think people won't be remembering him as as a legend? Being keeping in mind we had the likes of Wayne Rooney, who has also not won any World Cup. David Beckham, who has also not won any World Cup, but they are still considered legends.
They have won league titles across multiple countries and across different clubs and multiple trophies. What you mentioned,
Absolutely. But they have not. I mean, what I'm trying to say, you is that they are still, when you consider Harry Kane, if the name Harry Kane, since you're saying that Harry Kane has more contributions to England than any of these people. So how can you consider them?
What
but how can
contribution are you talking about? What contribution is that?
Goals, number of goals.
Right, that's
number
about
of-
it.
That's what I was saying.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. You can score as many goals as you want, but if it's a team sport at the end of the day, this is not the Roland Garros, this is not the Wimbledon, this is not, swimming, this isn't any other, singular, single man sport. This is a team sport. Now, as a team, if you're a legend of the sport, if you cannot, a Tom Brady, a Michael Jordan, these are, a Sachin Tendulkar, these are people that are, considered icons and legends with legacies that will never die in the sport because they've made sure that the team win something tangible. And that is where Harry Kane is lacking, because Thierry Henry has won the World Cup, he's won the Euros, he's won the Champions League, he's won the Premier League. Harry Kane has nothing to show for it. Kun Aguero has won multiple trophies. Even if Harry Kane would have won, I don't know, 4 FA Cups, 1 Champions League, just like Steven Gerrard, right? He'd never won the Premier League, I get it. But he still has a legacy because he's won a cup, he's won a Champions League, he's won, I believe, a Carling Cup. I think he's also won an FA Cup, if I'm not wrong. And he has that legacy created, which Harry Kane will never do. Gary Lineker won trophies for you guys, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
So Gary Lineker is going to have a bigger legacy than Harry Kane by the end of, maybe in another 40, 50 years.
But see, but I mean, you cannot compare Gary Lineker with Harry Kane. Come on, I mean, this is completely logical. Okay, you're speaking of Sachin Tendulkar, right? Just giving a very lame example, maybe, but just try to bring a point here. See, Sachin Tendulkar has won just one World Cup with India. Suppose let's consider if he had not won the 2011 World Cup, would he still not be considered legend?
If he did not win the World Cup, would he be considered a legend or not? Um, yes, but not maybe in the same breath as a Ricky Ponting, just because he's not won a World Cup.
I know. I see. So you understand. You understand the point.
I
Right? See,
understand. I understand what the point is, but listen, cricket is a sport where it's played.
it's a sport at the end of the day. It's a
It is.
sport at the end of the
It is
day.
a team sport. It is a team sport. You're absolutely right. But maybe I've not been able to express myself. But maybe Aitul Mag, do you have an example? I'm having a brain fart right now. Do you have an example of a player that was great, that was amazing, but does not have a legacy? Do you know any legend in the sport? Name another legend in the sport of football that is considered a legend but has not won any tangible trophies.
Well, I have to think of as well. But my question is something little different because every player, be it Harry Kane, be it Son, they aspire for a trophy, right? They play for the game for a trophy.
Yes.
If
Yes.
they haven't achieved that in Tottenham Hotspurs, then they should be looking elsewhere. The reason is already we are looking forward that there's a rumor Manu going for Harry Kane probably, and even Barcelona or some other club, I don't know, Athletic or something. I heard there's a rumor for Son going for a winger. Now, if they leave, in a worst case scenario, if they leave, what next for Spurs?
See,
Because
if
they
they
are the prime players for Spurs, I can say. If two of these prime players leave Spurs, what next? Can Spurs be in the top 8, top 10 even? I'm not sure. Because the goal count of both
well,
these two combining, it's something out of the ordinary.
right, absolutely. I agree with you on this. Look, the same question was, the same question came up when Gareth Bale was sold, when Luka Modric was sold, right? So the answer to, I mean, you have the answer to that question because we got players.
Newcastle scored another. Newcastle scored another.
But
Jamal
yes,
Lascelles.
yes,
Jamal
yes.
Lascelles. Jamal Lascelles.
I'm still. It's been late in Hotstar.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's an unlucky scorer, Jamal Lascelles. Wow.
Well,
It's Callum
oh,
Wilson.
Callum Wilson. It's Callum Wilson. My guy. My guy.
Okay.
I told you he was going to score. I told you he was going to score.
I told you, I told Saul that it will be a 2-0.
You did.
It was the redemption time, I told you.
In the last video, you predicted that it was going to be 2-0. And listen, I said Callum Wilson's going to score. So Alexander Isak did not score. Callum Wilson scored. He needs to start from the next game, Callum Wilson. I know he's not better than Gabriel Jesus. Okay, let's just get back. I'm sorry, Rivu, you've been cut short by this.
I guess that's a debate we need to have. Whether it's better than Gabriel Jesus or not. I guess it's better than
We'll be
Gabriel
talking
Jesus
about
any day.
it. We will be getting into that soon, but let's wrap it up with the Tottenham discussion, the Harry Kane's legacy discussion, and then we're going to be moving on to talking about
Okay, yeah.
Arsenal.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what I was saying is that, the same question came when Gareth Bale was sold, when Luka Modric was sold. Well, you have the answer, right? We got players like Harry Kane, we got players like him being Son. So absolutely, there would be a period where, we have to rebuild, but we'll get players who can replace them. Yes, there are people who are saying, what will happen if Harry Kane leaves because he's a goal machine. He's also one of the prime creators. Well, yes, it's hard to replace a player, but there can be a series of players which we can buy and replace him. I mean, look at the way we use Gareth Bale money. I know it's not the best way to utilize, but we got few decent players like Christian Eriksen. We got a decent player in the name of Nasser Chadli, which who delivered at least couple of seasons. But yeah, then we got a replacement in the name of Heung-min Son, and even Eric Lamela, who managed to stay at the club for 11 years after that. So
Scored
yeah,
a wonder goal against us.
yeah, I mean that was such a that was such a, icing on the cake. I cannot describe it, frankly speaking. So, a couple of Rabonas from his side. One was Egan Arsenal, and that he was a player when he used to play. It was his day. That's it.
That's
So
true.
yeah, that was couple of good additions we did with that Gareth Bale money. So I'm damn sure we are going to do a similar or at least a better business these days, considering we have a better infrastructure, a better better footballing knowledge. Considering we have the likes of Fabio Paratici, I know the situations that are going on right now with Paratici, but I guess things will resolve very quickly, and it will be smoother again.
Hmm. Now, before I end the stream, I'm going to ask you one last question. Who after Antonio Conte and who after Harry Kane? If at all Harry Kane leaves.
Well, I don't know whether I should answer after Harry Kane, because I don't have any answer to that right now because I need to personally look into it. But after Antonio Conte, if you want to hear my personal suggestion, it would be Julian Nagelsmann any day.
Okay. Okay. Now I respect that. I too, Mag. If in case Harry Kane, follows suit with Antonio Conte, who would you say should be succeeding Antonio Conte and Harry Kane at Tottenham Hotspurs?
To be honest, it's not a bad play. It's a personal opinion from my side. Any top manager would hesitate to come into Tottenham right now, because the way I believe the club is getting managed, I think any legend, or I'm not saying legend, any top manager currently in one football would like to come. Maybe a Pochettino again. I'm not sure, because that would be a win-win scenario for both Pochettino and Tottenham Hotspur.
Understand. What about Pochettino, and who's going to be the successor for Harry Kane, in your opinion?
Wow, that's a very difficult question. Maybe Callum Wilson, I don't know. No, jokes apart. See, the scenario again coming that trophies, the way Tottenham this season are playing, I'm not sure they will be the Europa League, maybe in Conference League, probably. I'm not sure. So if Kane leaves, it's difficult to bring any top names from a number 9 perspective. They should be playing Richarlison as their prime top 9, and maybe a second, some younger, maybe Ole Watkins. I don't know. They can be a placeholder for Watkins is a placeholder for number 2 in the line. I don't know.
I have a better name for you for a backup. It's going to be the Ferguson guy from Brighton.
Oh, I love that guy. The
Yeah.
Irish.
That's a
striker,
good thing.
yeah. He's 19
Yep.
years old, I believe. 19 years old. Yep.
18 years old, I guess. Maybe turn 19.
18, 19. Yep. From my point of view, I would say the perfect manager with the right, amount of big name factor and non-pragmatic football, and the right kind of manager that's also going to build a project. And in my opinion, is Luis Enrique. If Tottenham can bring that guy in, I think he's in international management right now, isn't he? I think he's managing. I'm not sure who he's managing right now off the top of my head, but that's my guy if I have to choose somebody. And as a player, I think Harry Kane requires 2 players to replace him. In my opinion, I would, at least from the striking point of view, I would probably say an Ivan Toney would be a good striking replacement for him. In terms of a creator, I cannot think of another person who can hold up and then create chances for runners on the wings. There's very few players can do what Harry Kane does in terms of creating in the world in the world of football.
I think I have a name for you for that. It's Sergej Milinkovic-Savic.
Milinkovic-Savic is a little deeper in my opinion. There is one guy that, just because you mentioned SMS, I just got this guy from Sporting Lisbon. He's Bruno, the guy who scored that wonder goal. Let me tell you the name. Just give me one
So
second.
I think yeah, it's
Sporting Liz.
I'm always getting the name Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle United.
Nah, he's Bruno Guimaraes. I think it's
He's not going anywhere.
Petro Goncalves, isn't it?
Pedro Goncalves is a right winger actually.
No, not that guy.
Let me just check as well. I guess
It is Pedro. It is Pedro. He actually does not play right winger anymore. I know. I have seen him as a right winger on FIFA as well, but he doesn't play right winger anymore. He plays as an attacking midfielder, and he is phenomenal in my opinion. He's got the right footwork. He's got amazing tenacity. He tracks back. He's an eye for a goal. He's an eye for a pass. And these are the kind of people that I would say Luis Enrique, Ivan Toney, and Pedro Goncalves would probably be the right kind of replacements for Spurs to rebuild, in my opinion, if we are looking to replace Harry Kane and obviously the recently departed Antonio Conte. I think we're about to wrap up our discussion here about Tottenham Hotspurs. Thank you for watching our video today, and I would hope that you please comment. Please let us know what you think about Tottenham. Whether you think that Harry Kane does have a legacy or not. Whether Tottenham should bring in Julian Nagelsmann or Luis Enrique or somebody else. And and that's about it. Like, subscribe, and comment, and share it with your friends. Have a great day, guys.
thank you.